Welcome to the, what is it, 37th episode of Born in Trouble? 37? I want to say 37.
Yeah,
We've had 2 weeks off. Yeah, we had 2 weeks off. But welcome to the 37th episode of Born in Trouble. I'm your host, John X. Here bringing you with the most and the best in irrelevant conversation. And, of course, coming in with me tonight from Detroit, Michigan, the City Wing King, still the City Wing King, Mr. Grant Lancaster.
What up, though?
What up, Doug?
How you feel?
What?
BMF is back, so everybody can say what up, though, now.
All right, what up, though? and of course, from the dirty South, someone who climbed out this evening, got away from people wearing perms in order to come to our show today. Is that dated? If I was white, that would definitely be racist and dated and sectionalist. It would definitely be all the way wrong, and that's what we go for here. Mr. Andrew Johnson.
What's good, y'all? Let me make some clarifications. I'm originally a New Yorker. I just came down here for the work, man. You know how they say you come down here for the work.
That's it. That's it. That's what they told those people in Madagascar. They just came down there for the work. What, did I say something? Did I go historical here already? Anyway. And of course, from New Jersey, the man needs no introduction. Mr. Brooks with the good looks, Robert Brooks.
I was only here for the beer and then shit got fucked up. Now I'm just here.
What happens? So, fellas, what's good, man? We were talking right before
I assume that you're all, you all being what you are, being New Yorkers, the hardy New Yorkers that you are, you guys are going to hit me up at the beginning of the conversation to see when you could get in to see Saquon, to see when I would, help you get in to see Saquon Barkley.
Hey, this is a sad day in New York football. For them to trade their best player on the team to an NFC East rival. The Eagles.
Well, they didn't trade him.
Yeah, they didn't trade him.
What was it? He was free agent.
He left on his own. They didn't want
to pay him the money.
They didn't want to pay him.
What's the crazy? He didn't get like 30. He got 37. Was it 37 million?
Change.
37 for 3. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit less
similar to what he got as a franchise tag, isn't it?
Yeah,
a little more. A little more than franchise tag.
Just but like not enough to really make a difference.
Well, there were some incentives. There are the incentives, right? The incentives can make it up to 46 million,
right?
If he hits most of his numbers, that's one thing.
Yeah, and the fact that you paid Daniel Jones, sorry ass, $40 million a season, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Just last year.
Yeah,
and he may not start next year because they just picked up the dude from the they just picked up the other dude. I forgot, was he on the Jets or the?
Nah, he was on he was on Seattle, but
Seattle. That's right. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, but he's a terrible guy. He's a terrible quarterback. He's like mediocre. He's nothing special. That guy is not anything special. Honestly, like Rob, first of all, fuck you for that Philly comment. You're not even a
I'm not even an Eagles fan, but I just want to see
Eagles fan.
I want to see the show though, because for this dude, he's a Penn Stater. So for him to come to play for the Eagles, he can have all, and I mean all. Let me put that in capital letters. ALL exclamation point. All of the white meat on and off the menu. Like he gets birds enforced everywhere he goes.
I think Saquon's he's married, and that's the reason why he made the decision to go for the best money. The biggest paycheck.
I think he just wanted to get away from a team that had Daniel Jones as his quarterback.
And I mean, the Giants are a sinking ship at this point in time. I'm mad that Brian Burns went there, low key.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm like a giant fan. You know, I'm active on social media, you know, top fan. And I've been arguing about this stuff with Saquon and about Saquon and how they treated him over the past year and a half in comparison to Daniel Jones, who they essentially just opened up the bank and said, here's all our money, and didn't negotiate with him. And you see now, like, you know, not like we always talk about sports on the show. We never talk about sports on the show, but we're sports fans. We're men, right? We all watch sports. Rob, you're active in the Philly sports scene. Grant, you're one of the best football handicappers that I know. You know, Andrew, you're in the South. You have no choice but to like football, whether you transplant it or not.
Well, it's mostly college football down here, so
right.
But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's like you get indoctrinated. And they gave him $10 million more than they should have, in my opinion. And part of that was like them saying, we're never gonna pay you, Saquon, no matter what. Right. That's the way I looked at it. They were like, you know, well, fuck it. If we don't give it to him, then we have to give it to the running back. And we don't really want the running back. They want to do it their way. The Giants are turning into the Buffalo Bills East, whatever conference it is, the Eastern NFC Conference, Buffalo Bills. And Saquon deserved better. And I'm happy for the brother, honestly. But what I'm saying is, though, I've been like arguing for him. He actually liked 3 of my posts on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And what did your post say?
Well, the last post that he liked was about, there were rumors yesterday about Houston wanting to go for another player, or Philly wanting to go for another player. And I was like, look, I think it was Philly going for a different player. I was like, listen, they can say what they want to say, but Saquon is the guy that they want. They're just trying to, you know, use it for leverage. They wanted Saquon Barkley. And why wouldn't you want Saquon? I mean, you can essentially run like you've got a wishbone quarterback in fucking Jalen Hurts. Now you can run the option with those receivers, and basically you've got those great wide receivers. You know, even Hurts can't miss them; they'll be that open. You know, so I think it's a smart move for them.
Yeah, you know what? I say this. You know, the Eagles, that was where they were weak last year. He's going to provide a lot of diversity to their offense. They were predictable on offense last year, and so he's going to help them out. And you know, with Jones, I think he got that money because of the Manning brothers. You know, they vouched for him when he first came to the team, and I strongly believe they had a lot of say on him getting that money, because of the fact that he, you know, they've handpicked him essentially. If you remember back when he first came in the league.
Yeah. But Rob, how do you build a football team?
How do you build a football team?
Yeah.
You get a ground game, you get a quarterback, you got to be able to pound the ball, you got to be able to control the clock.
Got to be able to control the line of scrimmage, right?
Inside out. Yep.
Inside out. You know, and that's why it just amazes me online when you go online and you talk to all these new fans. The NFL's done a great job marketing. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They've done a great job marketing, so much so that they've got people convinced that the running back is the least important position on the field, when most of the times it's still the most important. If the Giants still had Saquon Barkley, they have a chance. The reason why it makes them, the Eagles, a better team is like all these guys are running these 2-back, you know, offenses. Rob, you were a college football player. You played running back. You know, one guy pounds the ball, the other guy hopefully can catch the ball out of the backfield, right?
Yeah.
But you know,
you got the double bonus if it's the same guy.
If it's the same guy, that means the defense can't adjust to it, right?
Yeah.
They're guessing, right? But all these teams, they think that it's better to have 2 guys at all times, but you're basically telegraphing what you're doing to the defense. That doesn't seem smart to me. Did football coaches get dumber?
It's the analytics world, man.
No, yeah.
The analytics world.
The analytics and the fact that they're turning it into, they're doing their best they can to turn it into college football.
Okay.
So Yeah. So like there is no real position anymore. Everybody has to be able to do everything. If you're a receiver, you gotta be able to run the ball, you gotta be able to catch the ball, you gotta be able to block. If you're a running back, you gotta be able to catch the ball, run the ball, and block. You know what I mean? Like everybody, it's just the parts are interchangeable. So you put your best players on the field and let them touch the ball, and hopefully they'll create some magic for you.
Except for up front where you got the Hogs, they got to control the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And you need a decent quarterback.
That's where everything starts is at the line of scrimmage.
Oh, you call them the Hogs. I thought that would be traumatic for you, but
no. Listen, the Redskins have been bad for so many years. It's like, why would I, are they the Redskins? Oh, they're the Commanders. They're still in the league. Whatever.
Once upon a time, they had the Hogs.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
in the 80s.
But listen, everybody all linemen were known as Hogs. To a certain point, you want to give it to your Hogs. You want to give it to your big guys. You want to push forward. But all these geniuses, I'm so glad for Saquon Barkley right now. Honestly, I'm glad he's getting away from the New York Giant fans, who really didn't appreciate him. They really don't appreciate him. They keep saying that the Giants were trying to build a team around him for the past 6 years. I mean, I thought that Odell Beckham Jr. was on a team at one point too. Weren't they on the same team together? So it's like, these people, they just say things, just to be provocative. And it's all because, like you said, Rob, it's analytics. The analytics has taken over the common sense, where you have to understand in football, you have unicorns. It's still a game of talent. So if a team has a wide receiver that's a great wide receiver, something can happen at any moment. You've got a running back like Saquon, something can happen at every moment. So the Giants, even though they did well, we're just basically going back to being plaid, in my opinion. We're a plaid team. We may win some games, we may not. And it still depends on who else they bring in. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll bring in a dynamic running back in the draft that nobody knew. Terrell Owens got picked in the 6th round, right?
Didn't they bring in Devin Singletary already? Didn't they sign him?
Well, I'm not even going to mention him because I wasn't going to mention him because of this, right? The big complaint about, well, possibly. And that's my whole point. Like, Giant fans are like, they're clapping, paying this guy $6 million a year. He's possibly washed up. He's getting a guarantee. And he's in the same year. He's the same age as Saquon Barkley. So all of a sudden they're calling this guy who's missed a ton of games himself as a running back, they're calling him a durable option. How the fuck is he a durable option? He's the same except for worse. Less talent. Call it what it is.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
Call it what it is. We don't have a quarterback. What the fuck? We're going to get our asses beat by Philly twice a year.
And who are the Giants wideouts? I was trying to remember that earlier.
Well, the Giants actually have one really good wideout in Jalen Hyatt, who was a rookie this year.
That's right. Yeah.
Was a rookie this year. So really, I really want them to take a wide receiver, because if they took a wide receiver, they would automatically, to me, they would have 2 receivers. But the problem is that they still don't have a quarterback to throw them the football.
When do they pick in the draft? Do you know?
6.
That's a good pick.
It's a good pick, but I think they're gonna fuck it up though. Somehow, I just think they're gonna fuck it up.
They but see, the thing is with the Barkley situation is you got a situation where he was a dual threat. I mean, he could catch out the backfield. You could almost like a Marshall Faulk type.
Yes.
A better running back, just not quite as good as a receiver as Faulk was. And how many players can you get that can run between the tackles and can catch and receive the ball out the backfield? I mean, he's like a rare. I mean, there's not too many players in the NFL. If we go back and hit, I mean, even the all-time great running backs usually did one thing extremely well, but they didn't do 2.
Right.
And in his situation, I think he's highly skilled as a running back. Because what was his yards total this year running? Didn't he get over 1,000 yards?
No, he was close. He was 966 with the yards.
Okay.
If they would have pushed him in the last game, he probably would have went over 1,000, but he didn't. You know, there was no desire for him to get hurt on the last play as a Giant. And he also had a total of somewhere around 1,200, almost 1,300 all-purpose yards again.
Yards.
And every year he's like up around 15, 16. I mean, Philly's they're gonna eat off that boy.
Yeah, he's gonna fit well in their offense, better than he fits in the Giants' offense, most definitely.
What do you think? What were you saying, Rob?
Well, it's a better offense.
It is a better offense. It's tragic too, because I'm gonna have to hear these people cheer and scream all the time about how good they are.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be good. I mean, Saquon to me is worth 1,600 yards. You know, I almost he liked my post. I almost asked him to be on the podcast, and I almost want to ask him to be on the podcast. Be like, hey, buddy, if you like me protecting you all these months against these asshole Giant fans, come and do me a favor and come on my show. He's the only one I would want to be on there because, you know, listen, I respect the fuck out of him. He kept his head down. He kept his nose down the entire time. They really disrespected him for a long period of time. The fans are like talking the worst shit about him. And football is not a fucking non-contact sport. So, you know, I don't give a shit. Like, you know, listen, I don't like the fact he went to Philly. I hate that shit. But you know what, man? That brother, it's not a non-contact sport. He's only got so many years, and I want my brother to win. It's that simple.
Definitely. You know, he got 1,000 yards on a team with the Giants' offensive line isn't that great. I mean, they're in my opinion, they're below average. So if he got 1,000 yards with that offensive line and essentially no quarterback, I think Philly made out like a bandit on this one.
See, this is what Giant fans will tell you though. They will tell you that, he didn't get 1,000 yards though. And with Daniel Jones, they say, well, the reason why he's not so good is because he's been thrown behind that terrible line for his entire career. Right. As if Saquon Barkley wasn't running behind that same line his entire career.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, it's ridiculous. So it's like, and I think it's really weird. This kind of tells you that like Mercury is in retrograde in the world and the entire world is flipped upside down because a player is actually going to Philadelphia to get love from the fans. Right. How fucking odd is that?
Well, you know, it's the kinder, gentler Philadelphia now. But yeah, dogs are definitely walking on their hind legs. Mercury is in retrograde. I hate people who blame Mercury for being in retrograde for all their bad behavior. Like, bitch, you was crazy before Mercury went into retrograde. Bitch, you was crazy before you could spell Mercury.
This is true. Some of them still can't spell it. M-U-R Curry. Mercury. Mercury. Anyway, so we're going to get away from sports for a minute, guys. Woo! But popular culture, it is all the rage. It's everything that is in this world today. So we had the Oscars this week, and it used to be a very artistic place. And now everyone's up in arms because Barbie didn't get certain stuff. And, you know, Barbie. We're talking about Barbie in the Oscars.
Yeah, but I understand that Barbie was a really well done movie. I did not see it, but I've heard really good things about it. I've heard it was really well done, and it was, you know, a big heaping scoop of feminist empowerment. So, you know, if it's well done, I'm for it. Like, I don't have a problem with Barbie just because it was a Barbie movie. Like, if it's well done.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that aren't the Oscars and the, you know, motion pictures have gone the way of everything else in the society, which is to the highest bidder. That's my point.
Well, I mean, you know, there's a lot of the Marvel universe. There's way too many numbers in titles, you know, that indicate a sequel. There's way too many, you know, convoluted storylines with, you know, that guy's from that universe, that guy's from this universe. It's all part of, but at the same time, there's still a lot of really good films. I went last week and saw Origin and American Fiction. And they were both fantastic.
American Fiction is a whip, boy.
American Fiction is, you know, as good as Jeffrey Wright is. Every time Sterling K. Brown comes on the screen,
yes, sir,
that motherfucker lights it up. Like, he makes the screen hot.
Yeah,
like his character was just crazy. you know, but he's playing a person who thinks he's possibly discovered himself, but still seems to be in turmoil.
Yeah.
Well, I think, don't you think it's interesting that it's really hard to make good movies today because anything that's character driven or character based that has truth that shows the ugliness of people is kind of suppressed.
Well, I mean, it's a for-profit industry. Everybody goes for what they hope will be the quickest, easiest buck. Character-driven stories are tough to put together. You got to have, you know, you really need more than just great special effects and shit blowing up. You need actors to deliver. You need directors who can who can piece the thing together. I mean, it's hard to do good character, but yet at the same time, the last couple of years, there've been some movies that are. Did you ever see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yes.
Like, that thing was ridiculous. It was wonderful.
Right.
And so hard to pull off. Like, I read a story the other day about Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, you know, she was in that movie and she didn't quite understand it.
Mm-hmm.
And when she finally saw the cut of it, like, she broke down in tears.
Mm.
You know,
so who are
the
producers of that movie, per se? You know?
Not sure.
All right. I'm imagining that it came from a group of filmmakers, you know, much like Woody Allen used to have a team that would crank out his movies in between him diddling his kids. So, did I say something wrong?
No, sir.
Well, it all depends on who you ask. State of Connecticut said he didn't do it. His ex-wife says,
I'm going to ask Puff. What if I ask Puff? What's he going to say?
You know, Puff's going to deny.
Right.
Because he's hoping nobody's going to ask somebody else that question about him.
All right. So we're going to just talk about the artist, right? We're going to separate the diddling from the actual art. But what they were doing is they were making movies that made you feel something, movies that were provocative. Sometimes they weren't always popular. You know, now when you're in production of a movie and something isn't popular, hell, if you're making a movie about a Bolivian and you choose a Peruvian actor, you know, for the role, you're going to face backlash. You know, but acting is supposed to be about coming outside of the box. How are we supposed to show people? It seems to me like they're trying to suppress actual things, actual life. How many movies do we have? Like that movie that you're talking about, I'm sure that part of the reason why you really like the movie is it's because it's about real people.
It's about real people, and they're going through real things, and it's you can see those could be your people. Those could be your people. Right. And you know, and I'll just, you know, let me give a shout out to Girls High's own Eric Alexander, formerly of Living Single.
Came out the woodwork
to drop a little gem on the people.
Okay.
Still a pretty young lady.
Definitely.
Okay. Well,
bodied up too.
Yeah.
So basically that movie gets you, what's the name of the movie again?
American Fiction.
That gets the Robert Brooks popcorn in the box. What was it? Junk in the box. You get 4 junk in the boxes for that movie.
Really?
That's what we'll call them.
You know, I'm not a big junk in the trunk fan.
Junk in a popcorn box. That's what I'm saying. You get 4 hands in the popcorn box with the junk. That's what, right? That's good.
You know, that movie is legit. It's a great story.
Yeah,
I highly recommend it. But then I went to see Origin, which was a very different type of movie, but still, you know, and that was helmed by a sister, by Ava DuVernay. And she took a book that's would be ridiculously hard to make a movie out of it and found a way to explore it. You know, she took the book Caste, which is about, you know, sort of connecting the caste system in India, you know, what's going on here in America and what happened in Nazi Germany, and showing how it's all part of the same system.
Showing the parallels.
And to take a book like that and find a way to approach it and bring that material to life in such a beautiful way it's amazing.
Well, that's an interesting concept. I'd like to explore that a little bit more, because it seems to me as if all things are, while everything is separate, everything is the same. I was listening.
She had to go a non-traditional route to get the movie made.
Oh, really? How?
Yeah. Well, she actually went like to some foundations.
Mm-hmm.
She went and got some charity money. The Ford Foundation is one of the producers. Laureen Powell Jobs and Melinda Gates.
I'm sure that's a story a lot of people don't want told. I'm sure it's a story a lot of people don't want told. When you're talking about the systems of the world, period.
You're talking about the systems of the world, but also, how some of those systems transcend race is the biggest, is sort of the when you look at how it, because India is all brown people.
Mm-hmm.
The caste system in India has been around far longer than colonialism.
Mm-hmm.
They needed somebody to do the dirty work. And they graphically show you what the dirty work is in India in the movie.
Okay.
They needed somebody to do the dirty work. And so they created a system whereby you had these people who were born into this place where they were going to handle it. There was no way out of it for them. But then you look at, you take that and then you go look at Germany, and what they were illustrating with Nazi Germany is that basically the Nazis used the laws from the American South to place the Jews at a disadvantaged position.
Okay.
The lawmakers in the American South had done such a great job of making the black person by law less than and unequal to, that the Germans saw it as the perfect script to help get the Jews under control.
And now you fast forward.
But in that system, you're talking about all white people.
Right.
Like, that's white on white crime.
And it really is white on white crime. Until you take the Jews out of that area, and now they're in Israel, they're in their own place now soon.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're sharing the place. There's a two-state solution, but
that's not going to happen.
That's not what they're trying for.
That's never been the plan. I think we said that the first time.
It's never been the plan, but it's the only thing that if they want long-term peace, it's the only thing that works. Because if they eliminate the Palestinians, the Muslims will never forgive them. They're going to have permanent enemies anyway. But if you eliminate the Palestinians, it's just a matter of time.
But they own the United States of America. So they have us. No matter what the people say about that war, no matter what the people say about what they want to happen in the region, how they want American dollars spent, how they would like American assets to be put out there, the answer is no. We don't have a voice in that. We don't have a dog in that fight as the American people. We don't own anything. We don't have a right to say anything. And that's where that situation is. And you look at the irony, like all these things, like you were just saying how it pertains to race. I was thinking just the other day, and bringing it back to sports, how it pertains to sports with the Nets, for example, in the NBA. This is a team that's owned. It's my favorite basketball team, but I have a problem with them, because I think that the way that they're run is kind of in a very socialist way, where it comes to, they got rid of, like, people weren't saying it, but they were like, oh, well, this guy spent, but he got rid of all the high-paying stars, all the guys that make the most money. And there's a mid-manager who just does everything that the owner tells him to do in place. And there's no room for creativity in that space.
But as somebody who's invested, with $175 million in a basketball team, if you decide that you want to be a meddling owner, you get to be a meddling owner.
Well, I don't think he's really meddling, though. He's not really meddling at this point.
If they've dumped all the high salaries, like his fingerprint, you just said, like, you have a middling manager who's just running the instructions of the corporation. That means you have a meddling owner.
Which means you don't have a winning squad.
And you don't.
because
right.
somehow these people made billions of dollars, but they didn't make it from being GMs and understanding how sports work. Same thing in NFL, NBA, every team.
And
Jerry
at the
Jones,
same time that the league is diminishing in a way, you know, the AAU system is ruining American basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
At the college level, it's done deep damage, and it's making its way to the pros now.
Yep.
And so there is a lot to understand about the way this game is evolving right now. It's why you got all these European dudes coming in and whooping ass now.
Yeah.
Because the AAU system does not teach fundamentals. It teaches star systems.
It teaches how to get on ESPN on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
So what you're saying right now is on every level, all of these things have been broken down to the star, the person that's going to generate the most money at some point, whether it started at the AAU system level, where you used to have people who were handlers in the neighborhood for each kid that was showing his talent, and now going up to the top levels where the manager is someone that actually has owned a highly successful company that's the Amazon of China and is running the company, the corporation in that way. And like you guys said, that's not a way to build a winning team. Now, the reason why I mention this is that, you know, owner of the Nets is really just like a toy thing. But as like the head of Alibaba, he affects all types of people. He's affecting people in the United States of America and people in China in that country as well. And we know that from the top down, it doesn't work for the people on the bottom. Why aren't the people on the bottom more up in arms about what's going on about them? Is it that these people at the top have done such a good job that they can't see any way to actually communicate to be heard? Like the AAU star on that level, like that's the lowest level. But what about the kid on the team that might score 10 points a game and, you know, could grow into something, and collectively with the other guys is actually what helps that one AAU guy rise to the top? It's like kind of like sports is a microcosm of the world, and it's a microcosm of our social systems. Do you see the parallel I'm trying to make here?
I can see that. I can see where you're going. I think the problem to me is that when one of the people that is quote unquote on the bottom, it just seems so insurmountable that you just kind of give up. And this is across the board. This is not just basketball. Like if you've been told that you're not going to be an NBA player, you know, you're probably not going to be that. You know, because we hear these things, and as much as we don't want to internalize them, we do. And on some level, we manifest that.
You stop believing it. They call it spelling. They call it spelling, you know, when you speak things that are negative energy towards yourself.
Yeah.
You're never supposed to say these things out loud, because what it does is it actually affects you as an individual.
Puts that vibration out into the universe.
Right. That negative vibration, and that's what people are actually getting.
But I mean, when you talk about the people at the bottom of the AAU system, you're talking about kids. Like, and they're getting younger and younger every year.
And you know,
if you're a 10-year-old kid,
I want you to continue that, because right, exactly what you're saying. 10-year-old kid. If someone we're giving up on 10-year-old kids. You're not even developed yet. But go ahead, finish that.
Like if you're a 10-year-old kid and you're the last man on the bench, you know, what are you gonna do?
Right.
What are you gonna do? What's the power structure? You're gonna go play at another team? You know, part of the problem, the continuation of that, you know, when they get to college now with the transfer portal and the NIL, these kids get there, they don't play, they don't get the minutes they think. You can't sit a kid now. You can't bring a kid in and say, hey, look, I'm gonna sit you your freshman year, because I think you have some development. That kid's going someplace else.
What about
and if he goes to that other place and sits, guess what? He's going someplace after that.
No, I get all this in the sports thing. But what I'm talking about is
if you're the bottom, say you're the bottom rung of civilization, you just want to eat. right? You're just trying to eat, and you don't feel like you have the skills that you can just pick up. Hey, look, this guy's abusing me, but he's paying me. What else am I going to do? Where else am I going to go to eat?
Andrew, you have any thoughts on this?
It's funny you even talk about this because they wanted my son to, play on this one AAU team. And I didn't think he was ready, but I didn't want him to be. It was more like he was going to be in that situation where he's sort of bench riding, because of the way the whole structure is set up. And what's really messed up about them is that they stack these teams.
Oh yeah.
It's like to the point where, I seen one team, they had two kids that's 14, 15 years old, like 6'9". They put them on the same team.
Yeah.
And the tallest player that they were going up against was about 6'3". And so it's just like, it's just, and it's, now there's sneaker contracts that the coaches and stuff getting.
Yeah.
This is, it's turning it. And Robert, you're right. This is why Europeans are coming into the league and are essentially a third of the league now. It's because they're doing all the fundamentals and the drills and everything. But the league in the NBA, the offense, the reason why you're seeing these 140, 150 point games is because they don't really play any defense. And since they saw all these Europeans coming over here and they don't play defense, they had to make the game fit their style of play. So now you're seeing 150 to 135. You got players averaging triple doubles now. You couldn't do that in the 80s or the 90s. And it's because we're not doing what we need to be doing on that fundamental level at a younger age.
No,
so
we play 6 games a week. We have one practice and 6 games a week. Instead of when we were kids, we practice 5 days and play one.
Yes.
Yeah. So on another level, it's easy peasy if you are that talent, but for everyone else, it's unattainable. This is kind of like going back to what the caste system is in India. For those people that are born in that shit, it's unattainable. But for everyone else that's born in a higher caste, it's somewhat easy peasy. There's different expectations for each person. The thing that used to make the United States of America different is that we didn't stop. We didn't used to put our kids 6'9" on the same team. We would have them hating each other so that way they would go and compete with each other. It's not about what we can do together. So now those kids, they're 6'9" and they're on the same starting team, but they never practice against anyone else that's 6'9". So when they face someone that does, they're at a loss. They're going to lose because they're not prepared, because we're elevating them, but we're not preparing them. And this is the way it is all around the society of where we live. And to go back to like kind of what it says, you see, I'm trying to keep it out of sports completely, guys, because there's a deeper message here.
And you can see it in, a lot of it comes back to everything comes back to finance at some point. But if you take the other side of my professional career, you watch television news. Used to be to get to a top 10 market, you were in your early to mid 30s before you got to a top 10 market. You'd been doing it 10, 12, 13 years. You make a jump here, jump there, and then finally you get to the point where you're ready for the top 10. Now, you see 26-year-olds being hired in top 10 markets, and they're clearly not ready, but the salary that a 26-year-old can command is so much less than that person who's got 12, 15 years of experience that it's more beneficial for the station. Like, they'll grow into it or they won't, but the budget is right.
So the quality is going to suffer, is what you're saying.
The quality has suffered.
All around. That's
all around. But, there are all these monetary decisions.
But that's everything.
AAU Cooch is trying to get his contract. He's trying to get his sneaker money and build a side hustle so he doesn't have to work. Back when we were kids, those coaches were all volunteers, and they all did something else, whether they were cops or whatever. Some of these guys are professional AAU coaches now.
Yeah.
Money kind of bastardizes everything, though. So, and once you make it, and this is one of the bigger problems with America, is that in my opinion anyway, is that everything is about money, right?
Yeah.
It all comes down to the money, in the words of Houdini. So if everything is just based on the bottom line, it's like we talked about, just to kind of touch back on sports, we talked about the difference between what used to be a hood basketball player and a suburban basketball player. That gap was once a wide gap. Mm-hmm. Now, suburban kids, because suburban kids are able to hire the coaches, they're able to get the individual training that the kid in the hood probably can't get. So now that suburban kid is a more valuable asset than the hood kid. Same thing with European basketball players. Their professionals at 16, right? Same thing with hip hop. You know, like you used to have people that loved it. Now you have people that just want to make money from it. You know, same thing with firefighting. We used to have people that love firefighting that came to Detroit just to get the experience. Now we have people that just want the money for it. They want the perks. And when the perks of the job become more important than the job itself, now the product becomes fucked up.
It's diluted. If you want to curate a fine wine, you know, you're going to have to wait for longer than a year a lot of times for it to mature.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Do you have the time though? Because in America, there is no time. Right.
I think in the world there is no time any longer.
Right.
Now some places there are. Like in Europe, they're still doing it the right way in a lot of places.
Yeah. But here you can't turn your brain off. Everybody's got their phone with them all the time.
I'm not even so sure what you said just now, Rob, is true either. Like honestly, about them curating minds in Europe either. They're not. They're not curating people. Listen, the places are always the same. Like we've discussed it on the show, people will go out and they'll fund campaigns about people going to college. There's no reason for you to go to college. There's no jobs for you. And that's more true than ever. That's actually more true than ever, which is kind of sad. When it first started, it might not have been true. But right now, it's definitely more true than ever, because a lot of times in order to get employed in certain places and in certain industries, you really have to know someone, because everything is conflated. Everything is squeezed down. The numbers are less. You've got automation that have been knocking people's jobs out for a very long time. So there is still a need for these people. So the question becomes, as a society, do you even waste your time educating all of these people that you don't have a purpose for them? You don't have a reason for them to compete. It's only to your detriment for them and your future generations' detriment for them to compete. I think go ahead.
You're not educating them though. That's the thing. What you're doing is programming.
Yes.
The educational system is not a system to teach you how to think, and it's not
okay.
It's not designed to teach you how to learn and think. It's designed to teach you how to remember certain things so that you can pass the test.
To pay attention.
Okay, I want to see those points like right away. But what do you need to be indoctrinated into right now? Is the point. That's the point that I'm making.
Right.
What is the education actually training you to do right now? It's training you to basically be passive. And to accept things the way they are. If you're not special by the time you're 10 years old, you're not on that AAU team at 10. You know, the chances that you're ever going to develop, the system has already decided, the algorithm has already decided that, 50, let's just say, who's the top player, 50 Victor Wembanyama's that are coming down the pike are worth more than one Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman today would never see the inside of an NBA court. He'd never see the end of. He'd never see the pros. He was 20 years old and like 5'8". He grew to be about 6'8", and he was a rookie at 24 years old or 26 in the NBA. I think he was 24.
Yeah, I can't recall.
Somewhere around there.
Rookie, though.
Yeah, he's not traditional.
He was a walk-on college player.
He was a walk-on college player after having a growth spurt because he was an average-sized person.
Yeah.
Now, these are the gems that we're missing out on in society because they've already done the numbers. And You know, Dennis Rodman he's a freaky guy. He's crazy. He's interesting. He's funny and everything, but he's a wild card. He's one that slipped through the cracks. He's hanging out with Kim Jong-un. He's able to go there and come back and be safe because he is an outlier. But the system is crushing all the outliers now. And the way it's being done, they show it to you in sports. It's all laid out for you. So,
yeah, the day of the specialized player, like a Dennis Rodman, who, is probably one of the most athletic players, the athleticism to play in the NBA, but he was a specialist in the sense of a specialist rebounder, maybe defender. Those players are no longer, there's not a market for them in today's NBA.
I disagree. I disagree.
I'm saying that in the way the game is being played today.
No, but I'm going to give you the perfect example of why I disagree with that. The player that actually blows that out the water, Draymond Green.
To an extent, but he can play both offense and defense. Yeah. Like Rodman was a one-dimensional player. He could only play defense.
No, I mean, but can Draymond really actually play offense?
Well, he's their point guard essentially. I mean, if you watch the way Golden State plays.
Dennis Rodman used to play in a post a lot like guys like Sabonis does now and feed guys and pass the ball. He didn't lose the basketball despite all the things that he did. Turnovers wasn't a part of his game. And if he were coming up this time, he'd probably learn how to play. I can make an argument that he would be just as valuable to some teams because Golden State doesn't win with all those shooters without Draymond Green doing all the dirty work and doing it at a high level. So these are the high-level artists that we're crushing this, and AI is going to replace it for you. You don't need the creative guy to come up with the idea. AI is going to come up with the idea for you. But what does it do for those people that were supposed to be something and be somebody? All of those late bloomers, all of the outliers are just blown out of the water in this new society that we're living in. And I'm telling you, I thought about it today. This is the only thing I thought about today. I was I had talked to Rob. Remember, Rob, I was telling you about all the stuff that I had found on TikTok?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking for TikTok. I'm looking on TikTok to find some of those things to send you the vids. And I'm listening to a couple of lives of these people. And they're talking about the normal stuff. Trump, is Trump good for who's going to win, Trump or Biden? Some of them are about what's going on in Israel. You've got the pro-Palestinian, panels, the pro-Israeli panels. You've got the feminist panels. You've got all these you've got these liberal, political points. You've got all these people every day. Every day, they're on here throwing these different points of view out and having these panels with 5, 6, 10 people. And they'll have anywhere from 150 people to 3,000, 4,000 people in a room at a time listening to a conversation. And I'm listening to them and I'm like, wow, this is where that energy is going to. They would normally be regional someplace doing something interesting, involved in their communities, somewhere along those lines. But most of the times they were on TikTok broadcasting from 8 a.m. until 12 o'clock at night. Andrew, you and I met on one of these apps, Wisdom, formerly Wisdom.
What is it now?
I don't know. They changed the name to something.
It's like
Noon something.
Noon.
I don't know.
I think it's Noon was like that peace and serenity company. And I think they sold out. And I was thinking about getting back, going on it, but I'm like, they don't want me. Because it's like most of my conversations they're real, and they will kind of stress you out when I come to that point and I make a point. So they're not really looking for us. That's why they just muffle their mics and just decided to go in a different direction. So it's really like to me, it's the death of that app. It's not, they're not, it started out as something really good where people could come and express themselves, and no matter what the point of view was, you could have these conversations. And now it's basically, Rob, you would like it. They probably have yoga stuff on there.
Namaste, my brother.
Namaste, my brother.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not. Go ahead.
That sounds a lot like everything else in America. It started out one way, got popular, and then it went another
co-opted.
way.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Got co-opted.
Yeah.
And
well, listen, I'm sorry, Grant, to cut you off.
No, you good.
I'm just very aware of what you just said right now, because I'm looking at all the stuff that's going on, and even like trying to find topics for this show. Everything is really like dulled, which kind of tells me that things are going exactly the way that the people who are in charge want it to go. And that's when I get nervous personally, because we've got the normal fights between Trumpers and Bidenites and everyone in between. People trying to figure out.
Ain't that the dumbest fight on the planet?
Dumbest fucking fight on the planet.
Like I fell into the rabbit hole today and watched some of the Senate coverage. They were talking to the special prosecutor who did the Biden thing, and literally, like, all the Republicans, all their questions and everything was just trying to lead this guy to say that Biden's too senile, he's too old, he's incapable of leading this country. And like, literally, if you're going to make that argument, then you have to say that you have to disqualify your guy as well.
Right.
Like, you can't say that this guy's not capable and say your guy is, when he's like grunting and making sounds when his brain glitches and he can't read the teleprompter.
Dude, like, I read an article this week about the fact that Trump is actually incontinent. Did you know that?
For years.
He'll just walk. He's just walking down the street, just like letting fucking turds rip.
Oh yeah,
everything, and just like shaking people's hands. And
well, he don't shake hands. He's germaphobe. He don't like to shake people's hands.
Yeah, he should be a germaphobe. He's got all that fucking. He's got shitty diapers. Like what the fuck?
But in a country with this many people with academic degrees, like, these are the best two people we could find to run for fucking president. And the answer is no. It's not the two best people we can find to run for president. Right. And we're getting exactly what they want.
And they want me to waste my time talking about it. See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I was on TikTok, and all of these people were deeply involved in these conversations about this shit. And I'm just like, woo, these are the people that they're arguing for. Nobody is making a move because everybody is comfortable with their position of power and where their interests may lay. And at the end of the day, none of these people are going to make any of the difference because they're just basically being led by the nose. Just like the way that, I guess the biggest test was really when Hillary was running and James Comey and the FBI came out and he made that report right before the election.
The server.
Whatever it was.
The email server.
They just know that there's something that they can throw out there that can move people either in one direction or the other direction. And all of the rest of this stuff is just really about keeping us busy. It's all busy work. But why?
Well, you know what, John? You know what? I'll say this really quick. You remember the Asian dude that ran in 2020?
Yeah.
He made an interesting point, but he was kind of ahead of his time when he was just saying, there's going to be a portion of the population that's just going to be getting in people's way. And why don't you just cut them a check and just tell them to go sit down? Because the country is essentially going to be ran by about 1/3 to maybe 40% of the people. And so his argument was, if you give them a little bit of money to survive off of, they'll stay out of the way and we can run this thing.
That's essentially what they do anyway. Go ahead.
Well, that's what they were doing. And then Reagan started cutting off the money.
Right.
Way back in the Reagan days, they started cutting what they call entitlements. Mm-hmm. They started slashing money for those things and leaving people to their own devices.
Yeah. And that led to the crime, the crack epidemic and everything else.
They had some wars that they needed to fund. That's why we got crack. They had some shit that they couldn't get the Treasury to pay for.
Grant, you were going to say something?
No, I'm just listen. I'm just like the thing that I find amazing is that in this country that doesn't produce anything, we're not producing anything. You know what I mean? Like we're not producing anything in terms of goods, but we're not really producing anything in terms of people either.
No, we're completely devoid. The thing that America used to bring to the world was excitement, interesting people, and now we suppress anyone who's different immediately.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So with that suppression comes basically we're suppressing. When you suppress one, you suppress all. And that's essentially what's happening. So we don't have the great far right minds. We don't have the great far left minds and everything in between. People are just not allowed to be themselves. And it's crushing. And I guess that's the reason why they took wisdom and they turned it into Noom.
The Noom? Is it like is that like Noom, like the weight loss app, whatever?
I think so.
The behavioral weight loss app?
Yeah.
It's some type of health. It's a health app.
Okay. So they folded that in because Noom is that, the behavioral you learn. The Noom asks you to figure out your whys. Instead of just relying on willpower, they ask you to figure out your whys. So why is it that you're overeating? Why do you do this? Why do you eat in these moments? You stress eating, you do, all that stuff.
Well, we used to figure out whys too. We used to figure out why are you such a hoe? Why are you so racist? Why? But now it's only nutrition based, so it's no fun anymore. Fellas, we've been here for an hour.
Yeah, really.
Time flies.
It does.
Jeez, I didn't know it was that late.
Listen, man, I appreciate you, brothers, because even when we have absolutely nothing to talk about, I mean, the world has stuff to talk about. They're talking about Joe Biden. They're talking about his State of the Union last week. They're talking about the crazy woman after the show. They're talking about who's going to possibly run for X, Y, or Z, whether Trump.
Well, they're trying to find a way to replace Kamala before July. If they can't get rid of Joe, they got to get rid of Kamala.
Listen, they can't get rid of Kamala. Because if you get rid of Kamala, you might as well just say goodbye to the election. Because nobody actually went out. That's why they can't figure out, that's why the Trumpers can't figure out how they lost. It was the sororities. They brought it home. The sororities and the fraternities.
I saw a picture from 2001. It was a picture of what was that dude who used to be a motivational speaker? He actually came to Brentwood. I heckled his ass.
Not Les Brown.
No. Montel Williams.
Oh,
Montel Williams.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He spoke at Brentwood, and I heckled his ass, and he heckled me back.
That figures.
But it was a picture of her with him. She's a little snack, man. Back.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh yeah. No, she was bringing the heat back in the day.
Who we talking about?
Kamala.
When she was younger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Her milkshakes brought the boys to the yard. No question.
No doubt. There's no doubt about that.
And also, she's been. I've seen a bunch of key lists popping up on TikTok, whatever she's doing. She's over in Africa, like telling stories and shit. Those baskets overflowing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They can't. If they get rid of Kamala, they might as well just drive right over to friggin' Trump's house and give up the keys. That's just basically it. Just give them the keys. Just give them the keys to the house, to the building, because there's already enough apathy amongst the Black community, irrationally, because there's a lot of Black people that just don't understand. They're kind of right that you do have to kind of hope for Biden, because the option is a whole bunch of stress and turmoil. And, you talk about really no advancement. And if you think that you're going to get a chance, they're going to give you investment so you can do your own thing. You're going to do your own thing like they've always done their own thing. Think about Gina, Louisiana. Okay? If you are able to build it, they're going to come and burn it down all over those white women.
Both doors lead to the slaughterhouse, my man.
Believe it.
Yeah.
It's where the doors...
It will be very uncomfortable. I've heard people say it can't get worse. Clearly, you have you have a very short memory.
Right.
It can get a hell of a lot fucking worse.
No concept. They kind of got you there. But at the same time, I understand because like Democrats are giving us all like the big fuck you. Like we don't have to do anything. You kind of have to do it. And that's what it is.
Because you know what the alternative is.
Yeah. Because we know what the alternative is. So you can't win for losing. You know, do I want to talk about that? Maybe we will talk about it on the show. I always stayed away from politics because Gene hated them so much. But, you know, Gene won't be back for a couple more weeks. So maybe we should get a political show in before it's all over with. Before Gene comes back and says, oh, man, I don't care about
talk
that
about the
shit.
settlement you're going to develop in Canada. we're all going to move to fucking Canada.
Right.
You know, vibe on some socialized medicine.
Might be going down that way. Born in Trouble, 37th episode from parts unknown, New Jersey, Mr. Robert Brooks.
What up?
He's from chicken grease. And speaking of chicken grease, the chicken wang.
Dude, I had a little Ethiopian food tonight, man.
That's right. Ramadan Mubarak, my people.
There you go.
Ramadan
That's right.
Mubarak. From the Chicken Wing King, Mr. Brad.
I forgot you celebrate, man.
Yes, sir. Day 2.
Day 2.
All right.
Yeah, we in there.
You do intermittent fasting.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
That's right. Wa alaikum salam, sir.
That's going to get us on the watch list. And of course.
You already on the watch list.
That's right. From down south, Mr. Andrew Johnson. Host of, what is the name of your podcast again, Andrew?
The 313 Men, Money, and Marriage. The 313 Men, Money, Marriage.
313.
So, Grant, that means you got to come on. That's your area code, man.
Absolutely. I'm in. I'm in.
We're going to talk about that. I'm going to stop the stream. Born in Trouble, 37th episode. Thanks for joining us again. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.